Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're going to do a recap of this past Friday's episode of Mama June Road to Redemption. It's the second episode of the new season. It's titled Moving On and Moving In. Now where we start off is Mama June. She is in a hotel room speaking to Mariah and production, WeTv's production crew. Now when last week's episode ended, Mama June had called them and she had told them, she said, listen, I haven't spoken to anyone in a few days. I needed to get away. I left Gino in the middle of the night. He had no idea and I'm not returning his calls. Please don't tell anyone where I'm at. And she told them, she said, I really need to talk to you guys about something. There's been a lot going on that you guys are not aware of and I need to tell y'all, you know, what's happening. So that's where we pick up and she tells production, she says, back in 2019 when me and Gino were arrested for drugs, earlier that day Gino had consumed a variety of drugs. I think she says crack, cocaine. I think she even says that he shot up drugs that day. He was clearly not in his right frame of mind. One thing that I did notice though was she did not bring up the drugs that she may had taken that day. We do know that Gino also was under the influence of drugs. I heard her in a recording that TMZ released when she showed up to try to get their vehicle out of it had been impounded and she was just all over the place. You could tell she was under the influence, right? So anyways, she did not talk about, you know, what drugs she had consumed that day, but she did bring up the fact that Gino had consumed many drugs, like several. But she says that they were driving down the road and he grabbed her by the hair of the head and he was pulling her by the hair. Now this is all allegedly, this is Mama June's version of events. She says he's pulling her around by the hair of the head and he's telling her, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. Now Mama June did call the police. However, there was a off-duty cop following them and could see what was going on in the vehicle. So Mama June calls the cops. The off-duty cop as well, I think, calls the cops because when they pull over to the store, it was not long before there were cops there and Mama June and Gino both were getting arrested. Now, the interesting thing, though, is while Mama June is telling us this, Mama June's telling us that she was scared for her life. She really thought Gino may kill her. When they were arrested, she actually took the blame for all the drugs in the vehicle. She she could not say that Gino had not gotten physical with her because the off-duty cop had actually witnessed it. So he was arrested, domestic violence charge as well as the drug charges. But Mama June actually tried to take blame for the drugs. Like she was like, all the drugs in there, they're mine, you know, which I just found that's really wild. Like literally after he's threatening to kill you, you know, he's about to be arrested and charged for drugs and instead you take blame, which maybe that's something that happens when you're being abused. I really don't know. Or maybe that was just something that happened. I don't know. To me, you know, one would think, well, heck, let him take the blame for it. That way he can go to jail and you can get away. But I know that's not how someone's mind works that's being abused. So, you know, I don't know. Anyways, she tells production, she said that Gino, you know, he was charged with a domestic violence charge, but she went to the district attorney right after that and asked the charges be dropped. So they were. I do believe the charges were dropped. She says she told the DA that they were actually going to counseling and that they were doing better, but she tells production that she lied, that they were not doing better and they were not going to counseling. So she tells Mariah and the rest of production, she says, listen, I've been out of rehab for a while now. We were doing well at one point, but he's gotten back to where he's drinking a lot and it's not well. While he's not physically hitting me or physically abusing me, she said that she definitely felt like she was being mentally and emotionally abused, that the relationship was not going well, that she was scared to leave. She said that her and Gino have a codependent relationship, and she says she knows that it's going to be hard to get out of it, even though she's in a hotel and she hasn't spoken to him in days. She knows there's a huge chance that, you know, she may go back because she is so, that relationship is so codependent for her and for Gino. She said that she was getting to the point to where she was worried that she would relapse if she did not get away from Gino. Now, the next scene it shows us is it's 3 days later and we are at Pumpkin and Josh's house. Now, baby Bentley is just like a couple of weeks old at this point. Dodo shows up and Jessica, Alana, Pumpkin, and Dodo, they're all kind of sitting around in the living room, just kind of talking about, you know, what's been happening as far as with the new baby being born and how life is, you know, having a little boy instead of, you know, another little girl. So she tells Dodo that it's been an adjustment, that the baby pees on her and everything like that. Now, as they're sitting there talking, June calls them. June calls Pumpkin, and Pumpkin's like, wow, speak of the devil, because they were actually just talking about also how they hadn't heard from her, that Pumpkin had Bentley and no word from Mama June, and she was kind of shocked. So the phone rings, and it's June calling. June tells Pumpkin and Dodo and everyone that she is in a hotel room in Alabama and that she just kind of needed to escape for a while, that she's left Gino, that she left in the middle of the night. And, I think June was expecting Pumpkin to be like, oh, great, congratulations, that's awesome. But Pumpkin was like, oh, you're going to be back with him in a couple of days. I'm not even going to get my hopes up because you're going to go right back to him. It is what it is. You'll leave, but you'll go back. Now, June tells Pumpkin that while she's going to try to stay gone or, not go back into that relationship, that it is hard. She says, he's got court coming up and I do feel like I need to be there for that because we've been in a relationship for all these years and I do care about him. And while I want to break free from the relationship, I feel like I do need to be a part of that. I do need to go when he has court. And they ask her, they're like, why? Why would you need to go to that? Like, your court situation is done and over with. Cut it off. Just, cut it off, leave, be done with it. And she says, when you care about someone, you can't miss important events like this, that you have to be there for those events. And Pumpkin's like, well, what about me having Bentley? You missed that. So you have to be there for Gino, who's a big boy and has court, but you couldn't be there for me. Is that what you're telling me? And Mama June's like, it's different. It's different. Me and Gino, we were together for several years. And while I don't want to get back with him, I just feel like I need to be there for him to go to court. Now, after that, we see Alana in a confessional, and she says that she has spent too much of her time worrying about Mama June, that she is done with it. She's over it. She's not going to waste any more of her time worried about where Mama June is at, what she's doing, and when she may come around. When Pumpkin gets off the phone with Mama June, she seems really irritated, bothered that June feels like she needs to go to court for Gino, unsure of why she just can't break it loose and be done with it. Now, the morning of the court date, production shows up first. They're there talking to Gino, and they're asking Gino, how do you feel? And he's like, I'm nervous. Either I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to be sentenced to jail time and I won't walk back out, or I'll walk in there and I'll get the community corrections program where I will be able to go back home and serve out my time, at home. And they ask him, when's the last time you talked to Mama June? And he said, it's been a few days. She will not return my calls. I don't really know what's going on, but I'm assuming that she's coming since you guys asked me to bring her some clothes. I'm assuming that she's going to be here today. And they told him, that Mama June has plans to show up. A few minutes later, Mama June shows up. I'm not for sure who brought her, but she shows up and she walks over to Gino and he hugs her and he's like, I'm happy to see you. Thank you for coming. And he says, we need to get in here and figure out what's going to happen. And she says, yes, we do. But when this is over with, I need to talk to you. We need to have a conversation about, our future. And he says, well, that's even if, that's if I even will have a future for the next few years. If I go to jail, I really won't, And she says, well, let's get in here and let's see. So they go in. While they're in there, right when they walk in, Dodo and her daughter Amber pull up. They're kind of late, so they don't get to talk to Gino or June before they go into the courthouse. I think it was like an hour later, Gino and June and the sheriff all came out, and the sheriff was telling Gino, the community corrections program, it is difficult, it's hard to be on. Basically what it is you're under house arrest, essentially, almost. You wear an ankle monitor, you take random drug tests, you have a curfew. So while you can and go do certain things, you have to be home at a certain time. There's places that you can't go. You're allowed to work and stuff like that. But anyways, the sheriff is telling Gino that while it may sound easy, it's not. It's a lot to be committed to, and you really have to be committed to it or you will end up in jail. And Gino's like, you know what? Any place is better than jail. I'll do my best. Now, after that, the sheriff walks off and Gino pulls June to the side and asks her, what is it? What do you want to talk about? And June tells Gino that she's really been thinking about some things and that she took off because she really needed some time to gather her feelings and her thoughts. And while being separated, she's really come to the understanding that this relationship was way too toxic and they don't need to be together. That, at a rehab, she's focusing on herself and she feels like Gino is not doing well, like he's drinking and everything. And She basically is like, with you drinking, I feel like I'm not in a good position. I'm not in a good place because I've got to work on my sobriety, and you drinking could possibly pull me back into it. So I feel like this just kind of needs to be the end of us. We need to break it off. She tells Gino she wants a civil breakup, that she doesn't want, them bashing each other on social media. She just wants it to be clean cut, dry, and that'd be it. Gino was confused. He said, well, if you knew this was coming, or if you had any thought that this was coming, why were we just looking for a new house? Why didn't you tell me? And June told him, she said, well, I thought that, I could make it work. Like, I thought that I would be able to do it, but I just can't. And she told him, she said, you can have the car. I just want my things, and don't bash me on social media. I won't bash you. And that can kind of be the end of it. And he was confused by that as well. He said, I don't even really do social media. Why do you think I would bash you on social media? And she said, well, when you drink, you kind of get to where you say things. And he says, but not on social media. I don't say anything on social media. So she basically just kind of reiterates, like, I don't want it to happen though. Like, if, after this breakup, if you start using your social media, don't come for me. I'm not going to come for you. Let's let it be civil. And he tells her, okay. He's like, okay, I got to get with this lady over here. She's waiting on me to sign my paperwork. So I kind of need to get over there with her. Here's the keys to the car. I brought your things so you can get your things. And, I guess I'll see you later. And he walks off. Now, after, I guess, he goes and signs the paperwork, he comes back and he has a quick little confessional with production. And he tells production that he had no idea that this was going to happen. He was blindsided, he said. He says that he loves June, and he thinks it's going to take some time for him to be okay and for him to get over this. But essentially, he wants the best for June, and he wants the best for himself. As he turns around, he tells production, he says, I hope to see y'all again at some point. And he walks off. I'm not going to lie, I was a little sad. I was like, poor Gino. Like, he just, today was like a day for him. Like, he goes to court not knowing if he's going to go to jail for 5 years. He gets this community corrections program to where he's going to be on house arrest almost. He's going to have a curfew, and he's going to have to go back to Florida by himself. And now not only is, June breaking up with him, but essentially he's telling production bye, who I think production they become friendly. Like, you become friends with those people because you've been around them for so long. So this is like the end of several chapters for him, like his relationship with June, her family, and production. He doesn't know what's going to happen from this point on. So I kind of felt bad for him. I'm not going to lie. Now, after Gino walks off, we see June get in the vehicle with Dodo and Amber, and they head out. So they're making their way back to Georgia. They stop at a gas station. And when June goes in the gas station, Dodo's like, I need to call Pumpkin and let her know what's going on, because we're bringing June to Pumpkin's house, and Pumpkin's not even aware of it. So while June is in the gas station using the restroom, she calls Pumpkin, and she's like, you're not going to believe it. June broke up with Gino on the top step of the courthouse, and we're bringing her to you. And Pumpkin can't believe it. She's like, wow, I did not see this coming. I'm shocked. She'll be back with him in no time, more than likely. And why is she coming here? She didn't even ask, she could have at least informed me that she was coming rather than just showing up. And Dodo's like, well, get ready, because we'll be there in about 45 minutes to an hour. So they get off the phone, and back at the house, it's all the girls, and they're kind of discussing what's going on. She was like, they're going to be here in like 45 minutes to an hour. She broke up with Gino. I don't know what her plan is going to be, but she's going to be here. She calls Josh down, and she tells Josh the situation as well. Tells Josh, Mama broke up with Gino, and she's coming here. Josh is like, well, I need to get out of here. I need to leave, and I need to take a minute. In a confessional, Josh says that he has so much hatred built up towards Mama June that if words were to ever start coming out, like his true feelings, that the damage that would be done, there would be no fixing it. He was like, if I ever got to say what I really wanted to say to June, that would be it. There would be no way to fix that. So I just need to take a moment and go calm down. And Pumpkin was like, yeah, we agreed, because we know how he feels, that if it ever got to the situation where he needed a moment, he can go have his moment. So Josh, go cool off, Now, after that, Mama June arrives. She don't even knock on the door. She just opens it, and she says, Mama's home. And of course, Pumpkin's like, we got a door. You can knock. Don't just bust up in here. She comes in. She sees the baby. She loves on Bentley for a little bit. She asks about where Alana is. Alana comes walking down, and she goes, oh, look at you, all skinny mini. And Alana's like not impressed. Alana's not showing no signs of happiness that June is there. In a confessional, she says, like, I don't need you trying to compliment me, trying to make me happy, saying, oh, I'm skinny mini. Like, do you not know who I am? Like, do you know nothing about me? Trying to impress me or trying to compliment me by saying that I'm skinny. Like, that does nothing for me. That's not a compliment for me. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. In this confessional, she says, this just shows me that Mama doesn't know anything about me anymore. And she's very, you could tell she's very bothered because she's like, she doesn't know me anymore. Like, calling me skinny mini, thinking that's gonna make me feel good or something. Like, she goes, she's just like Sugar Bear. And production is like, what do you mean she's just like Sugar Bear? And she's like, she just don't know nothing about me. She's missed out on too much of my life to really know who I am anymore. And I thought that was really sad. I was like, wow, that's really sad. Like, Alana is really coming into it to where she's understanding. On the first episode, she made a comment about, you know, not all adults are meant to be parents. And she was referencing that to June and Sugar Bear, that she doesn't feel that her parents, just because they were adults, that they were fit to be parents. So it's definitely telling us how Alana is feeling about Mama June and Sugar Bear. And we haven't seen Sugar Bear yet. We still haven't seen him. Now, this is only the second episode, but we haven't seen him yet. Now, Pumpkin asked Mama June, like, what happened? Like, you just popped off the face of the earth. I had the baby. You didn't contact me. Like, what was happening? And June said, I had to get away. I needed to just have some time of my own. And while I was having that time, I just had an awakening where I realized that I didn't need to be with Gino. She said, I asked God for a sign and he gave me a clear sign that I could do it. I could leave him. I didn't need to be with him. June said that Gino was just too much and that she needed to focus on herself, and she felt like God gave her those signs that you can do it. Leave him. You'll be okay. Now, Pumpkin says that she doesn't believe June. She's like, I don't believe that you want to focus on yourself. I've been seeing you all over social media with all these different guys. And let me tell you guys, right after it came out that Mama June and Gino was broke up, June was literally all over TikTok with like all different kind of guys. She went on a date with one guy where they kissed at the end of the TikTok. She was hanging out with all different kinds of guys, right? She had Jordan McCollum where she was buying him cars and furniture, and I think she rented him a house or something like that. So Pumpkin was like, I'm not buying it. I see you all over social media with all these different men, yet you're talking about you need to leave Gino so you could find yourself and you could figure out who you are, but yet here you are, you know. So Mama June says, though, she says, I'm not concerned with a man. I plan on being single for a long time. I just want to figure out who I am. But Pumpkin clearly ain't believing June. Now, that night, Pumpkin is in her room with the baby, and Josh comes up and he asks, he's like, is your mother still here? Has she left? Like, what's the deal? And she goes, no, she's still here. She's going to be here for a few days, but I feel like something's off with her. Like, I feel like she's being weird. She's just not acting herself. She says she had a spiritual awakening. And Josh asked, he said, do you think she's back on drugs? And she says, no, but I do wonder if maybe she has a new man. But keep in mind, Mama June said that she was single and had no intentions on getting into a new relationship, right? The next morning, June, she wakes up, she is in the kitchen, she's got, you know, bowls and eggs and flour, and she yells to the family, wake up, you know, come eat, Mama June's cooking. You guys are glad that I'm here. Come down and hang out with me. Josh leaves. He jumps on his motorcycle and he takes off. I don't know if he was going to work or where he was going, but he left. Pumpkin and Jessica and Alana, they all come down and they're telling Mama June, they're like, you're too loud. Like, we got a baby in the house. Like, you can't just be acting like that. And she's like, well, y'all know you're happy to have me here. And Pumpkin gets a little bit of flour and blows it at, you know, in Mama June's face. And then Alana gets some and throws it at Mama June. And in a matter of minutes, they're just throwing flour everywhere and they're having a good old time. And if you watch, you know, Mama June way back in the day, it kind of reminds me of that, where they would have those moments of just having such a good time as a family. It kind of brought me back to that. Like, you could see the smiles on everybody's faces. Like, I feel like it brought them back to that as well. You know, hanging out with Mama June and just having a good old time. Like, making messes, but having a good time. And Pumpkin was like, oh my God, Josh is going to kill me for making this mess. Now, after that, they, once again, talked to Mama June about, like, what's her plan. And she's like, I don't know what my plan is yet, but I do plan on, like, hanging out with the family. And, you know, I made some really good friends in Alabama, so I may go back to Alabama and hang out with those friends. They really understand me. They really get me. And that seemed to bother the girls because they was like, well, we're your children. Like, we're your children. you know, you don't feel like we understand you or make you feel any type of way. You're just going to go run to those new friends in Alabama because they get you. And in a confessional, Mama June says, like, they don't understand what it's like to be a recovering addict. So that's what I mean when I say, like, these friends understand me. They are recovering addicts as well, so they get what I'm going through. Now, after that, Jessica, Pumpkin, and June, they go out to this little, like, donut cupcake shop. And Mama June tells them, get whatever you want, I'm buying it. And Pumpkin says, I hope she doesn't think, like, buying me a few cupcakes is going to pay me back for all the expenses that I put out for Alana and Jessica, because it's not even going to come close. So they get them some cupcakes, they go outside and they sit on like the patio of this little cupcake place, and they're talking about Mama June's, you know, future once again. Now Jessica is irritated. Jessica is mad because she's like, you know what, I haven't had a car in like 2 years. I had a car, but then you sold it or you pawned the title and I lost the car. I had that car and I lost it because of you. And now you give Gino your car when you could have gave that car to me, because rightfully so, I think you owe me a car. And June, obviously, you know, she just kind of laughs it off and she's like, well, whatever, I'll get you a car, whatever. So they're talking about June's future and what's going to happen. And Pumpkin's like, listen, you can stay with me a few days, but you definitely cannot move in with me. You can't move in with me. Like, I already have a full house. I have a new baby. Josh is not going to, no, he's not going to put up with it. So you need to figure out what you're going to do. And Pumpkin comes up with the idea that because Mama June needs someone to live with her to help take care of her, drive her around, that it should be Jessica. She was like, Jessica, I'll volunteer you to be Mama's chauffeur, take her around, you know, do whatever needs to be done for June, because that's what she needs. And Jessica is like, I didn't volunteer that. I didn't say that I would even do that. Pumpkin said, well, you kind of have to. Like, there's no other options, you know. You would kind of need to. So Jessica basically says, listen, I'll live with you, June, if you let me pick out where we're going to live and you buy me a car. And June kind of agreed to that. She said, I'll buy you a car, but it's going to be a car of my choosing. I guess because essentially it would be in June's name. I don't know. She said it'll be a car of my choosing. And yes, I will let you pick out, you know, a place for us. And Jessica said that she would be okay with that. At least it would be better than sleeping on a couch, you know. So that's kind of the deal that they make, that Mama June would start looking for a place to live, her and Jessica, and that they would, you know, live together. Now that night, back at the house, June, she peeps her head in Pumpkin's bedroom, and she's like, hey, I got a therapy session, so can I borrow Bentley's room to talk to my therapist? She says, of course, you know, whatever. So she goes into Bentley's room. She sets up her laptop. But right before she gets on the phone or on the laptop with her therapist, she like sends a audio recording to someone. And she goes, I don't know. She says, like, hey, I'm not going to be able to talk right now because I got to get on the phone with my therapist. But I'll call you later. I love you. Bye. And it's like, wait, what? What? What did you say? And then she gets on with her therapist. It's a video chat, and she's telling her therapist, she's like, a lot has happened. I left Gino. I'm staying with Pumpkin. And, you know, there was a plan for me and my daughter to move in with each other. Jessica, we would find a place together and that she would move in with me and kind of take care of me. But I'm not for sure if Jessica is ready to move out yet. Like, I think Jessica really wants to stay here. So I don't really know if I'm feeling that plan 100%. Like, I kind of said I was, but I'm not so sure. And her therapist tells her, like, you're too soon out of recovery to be dealing with all these changes in life. Like, you need a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you're setting yourself up for failure. So you need to get it together and get a plan. And then Mama June drops a bombshell, which we all knew it. We all saw it coming. She tells her therapist, she says, I also have some news. I kind of met someone in recovery, and we've been kind of seeing each other. And the therapist is like, no, that's not good. Meeting someone this quick into your recovery is dangerous, June. You do not need to do that. And that's where it cuts off, you guys. And I knew it. Pumpkin knew it. Alana knew it. Everyone in this episode was saying, June can't stay single long. She can't be by herself. She'll be with someone in no time at all. And June was saying, oh, no, I'm single. I'm ready to find myself. I don't want to be with anybody. I'm going to be focused on y'all. I'm going to be focused on me. And I'm going to be here. And she even, agreed that her and Jessica would move in together. And then we hear her on the phone with the therapist. I met someone. I'm wondering who this someone is. Like right now, we know that she is in a relationship. But back when this was going on, I think this was when the Jordan McCullum situation was happening. So I am wondering if we're really going to get more of an insight into the dynamic of their relationship. If, Mama June has always stated that they were friends. Friends. He was my best friend. But we hear her on the phone, sending this audio. I'll have to talk to you later. I love you. And then telling her therapist, I've met someone. So I'm wondering if this is Jordan and if we will get to see him, hear more about him. But I don't think the guy that she is referencing in this episode is the guy that she is with now. I think it's too soon. But that's my guess, is that it's Jordan. You guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. It definitely feels like Alana is really coming to the realization that June is just not a good mom. She's just not a good mom, and that, Pumpkin is basically the one being a mom for her. And unfortunately, Mama June has no realization to how much she is missing out on for Alana. She has no understanding that she's missed out on a lot, and what the effects of that's going to be with Alana, what they have been for Alana. So she's, back, but instead of focusing on, trying to be there for Alana, she's already talking to another guy. So I don't know. You guys let me your thoughts in the comment section below. I will do another recap each Friday. I'll be, watching it over the weekend, and then, filming my recap on Monday. Hopefully I'll get it up to you guys rather quickly. But that's what happened on this past week's episode of Mama June Road to Redemption. She broke up with Gino. Gino was sentenced to community corrections, where he would have to wear an ankle monitor, have a curfew, random drug test, and he goes back to Florida without Mama June. Mama June goes to Pumpkin's house, stays a few days, commits to, moving into a home with, I always forget her name, with Jessica. But then there at the end, it says she really don't think she wants to do that, and that she's met someone else. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everyone.